Hello, this is Tim from Saints on Cinema, and I'm here today to give you my wild review of the new movie Tomb Raider. As a regular film goer, but not a huge gamer, I couldn't totally appreciate this movie as a video game, as far as how true it was to the story or to the character Lara Croft, or um, even to the point where I just mispronounced Lara Croft. It's not Laura Croft, Lara Croft, from what I understand. I don't know. But basically, I um, know the story to the point that it's a puzzle solving video game, and it's a very popular one. I know everyone's very heavily drawn to the character Lara Croft because she's an adventurous, independent, wealthy, beautiful young woman who goes on these amazing adventures. From what I understand, she's an archaeologist or a treasure hunter, solving mysteries and kind of like your Indiana Jones, but little different character, yeah, but going on the same similar adventures. More like Scrooge McDuck stories than Indiana Jones stories, but more. I don't know. I tried playing those games. I don't like puzzle games. It's enough for me to try and get through a Legend of Zelda video game. That's enough puzzles for me. As far as the accuracy of the character, that's all I got. I know she solves puzzles, and there's a lot of that in the movie. And she's just a fun character that everyone, particularly guys, like to watch for whatever reason. Anyway, it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I went and saw it with my brother after work today, and I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. It's one I wanted to see. I think I saw the trailer one time. I really enjoyed where they were going with it. I didn't see the original movies with Angelina Jolie. I actually bought them. I'm gonna watch those next and review them because I've never seen them. Just not a big fan of the character. And that's all there is to that. But love the movie. So I wanted to watch the trailer right now, just so I can remember some of the concepts and the story, the things I wanted to talk about, and so you guys can watch the trailer too. And then I'm just gonna tell you what my thoughts were on the movie. So here we go.
What's your name?
Lara
Surname?
Croft. Lara, your father's gone. You can pick up where he left off. I see so much of him in you. Brilliant.
Hello, Sprout. If you're listening to this, then I must be dead. I found something, a tomb called the Mother of Death. If Trinity succeeds, our world is in danger. Promise me you will stop them.
I promise. I think I know where my dad went.
That's right in the middle of the Devil's Sea.
It will be an adventure.
Death is not an adventure.
You shouldn't have come here. But I'm glad that you did.
What do you know about my father?
Now I see the likeness, the recklessness.
Close the tomb once and for all. The fate of humanity is now in your hands.
Can't be too careful these days. The world has gone bloody mad.
I'll take two.
And therein lies where sometimes I don't like trailers. The part with the guns was during the credits. It's weird that they show a credit scene in the end credits, one of those cliffhanger after credit moments in the trailer. That's really dumb. But they just want to show off that she has two guns. That's her signature weapon, that she has two guns. She usually wears shorts. Thank goodness she didn't have shorts in this movie because that would have been just ridiculous. And tank top, hair is usually in braids. And yeah, and just beautiful curvy body. That's what she's known for. Again, I don't play the games. I'm not that into the character, but that was a beautifully done trailer. I love it. It's the beats of the music and the narration going over the clips and the sound effects and the scenes that they cut. Really well done. If you appreciate that kind of stuff, that's a really well done trailer. But really quickly, let's just jump right into the review. I'm not going to give a full synopsis of it. It's about a character named Lara Croft, and there's this tomb, and she raids it. She's kind of researching and following the mysterious disappearance of her father 7 years ago, and he was obsessed with this concept of this cursed tomb. So she follows this when she has some clues, and there's a little bit of a drive that in the story. She's kind of at wit's end with things going on in her life, and she keeps hitting dead ends. She keeps getting into trouble with different things, and so there's this mystery that hooks her that she wants to go find out what happened to her father. She goes to the island and she discovers this military group that's already there, and they're trying to uncover this cursed tomb. So now she's trying to uncover this mystery while they are trying to uncover the mystery, just like Raiders of the Lost Ark. But it turns into a race and then ending up similar to National Treasure, where she is forced to help the bad guys get into the tomb, and then they end up fighting their way out. It's pretty predictable. The puzzles and everything that was in there, for people who like the games, they can appreciate that and enjoy it, but they're not. That's not an overly huge part of the story. I've been talking about the story. I got to say, the story is a solid 2. That's the first category on our reviews, but it's a 2 out of 2. What I love about it, and you got to look at these movies as this is a video game movie. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be cheap. It doesn't mean it has to be like sloppy. It doesn't have to insult the audience thinking that they're just mindless teenagers or something. It's a very competent, well done movie, and the story was paced so wonderfully. That's what I really appreciated about it. The movie didn't feel like it was too long or drawn out, and it didn't feel like it was too rushed like some superhero movies when they're introducing a character. This is a brand new character, a brand new rebooted franchise, and so they're going to take a little time to develop the character's background, establish her personality, what her weaknesses are, what her flaws are, and it was paced so well. They didn't spend too much or not enough time on her background. They didn't spend too much or not enough time getting her into the story, into the quest, and they didn't spend too much or not enough time with her solving the mystery, and they didn't spend too much or not enough time at the end wrapping up the story and the end battle sequences and everything. Everything was paced, not necessarily the same amount of time, but it flowed so well. You felt like there was enough attention given to each of those aspects of a brand new character. And I hear that complaint a lot when people talk about origin stories in movies, with superheroes especially, where you have all this, the first or 2/3 of the movie is origin, and then they introduce some kind of a villain, because you have to have some kind of an end battle sequence in a movie, and in these kind of movies. So they spend all this time developing the character, and then they rush the villain fight at the end. And that doesn't give that enough justice, where it seems like it should be 2 movies. Or the opposite's the problem, where they spend no time at all developing the character's background, which was my biggest problem with the first Spider-Man movie. Just a side note, but they rush the introduction of the character's background and then get them into their costume, and now it's this long drawn out movie about them solving the mystery. That's the plot. It's not the most like mind-blowing or original concept. It's a pretty very straightforward story. There's a couple twists in there that I'm not going to get into to give away, but it's nothing that can't be predicted. And you know exactly how the movie is going to end, right? Like, halfway through it, when everything's laid on the table, all the cards are out, you know exactly how the last hand is going to be played. And that's fine, because it was just a fun movie. There were some twists, and there was some excitement, some suspense, really good action sequences where she was in really tight spots a few times, but it wasn't overkill. And she wasn't this big superhero that was getting out of ridiculous situations that were not believable enough to be enjoyed. That's getting into characters. I'll tell you right now, characters, I gave it a 1 out of 2. I wasn't overly impressed with the characters. Now, I love Lara. I keep saying Lara. You guys can rip on me all you want in the comments below. Lara's character, She wasn't perfect. She wasn't flawless. She wasn't invincible. She wasn't unbeatable. She got thrown around and beat up quite a bit in this movie, and she got defeated and put into situations that were very challenging for her. And she faced a lot of emotional tension, struggles, and things that were hard for her to deal with as well. That was really cool. It was really cool watching her progress from this kid. She seemed like a kid in the beginning who was just trying to survive, just hold a job, just spend time with her friends, just kind of to stay afloat in life. To this person who's accomplished this huge this adventure, who's taken out this military faction and overcome this villain to resolve the mystery of her father's death and the mystery of this cursed tomb, and to take care of that, and then come back with the pride and the strength and courage to take on her responsibility as now this heir to this huge wealth and this fortune, to take on her father's drive to right certain wrongs, or to uncover certain mysteries, or to beat the bad guys, which was revealed in the trailer as the Trinity organization, to beat them to these treasures or these tombs or whatever that may have magical powers or special things that have consequences for mankind. She's trying to accomplish the things that her father was devoting his life to doing, making sure these things were safe and mankind was safe. I don't know if that's true to the character in the video games. I don't know if that's what the quests are when you go on these missions and these tombs in the games. I don't know. I don't care. But the movie seems like that's where they're going to go, and it's awesome. But there's that growth. That's the whole point. Is there's this growth. But the thing is no matter how good she was, no matter how good Lara Croft was, a good character needs other solid characters to bounce off of. And I keep thinking about Indiana Jones this whole movie. Indiana Jones by himself is a really great character, and any Indiana Jones movie, no matter how bad the plot is, like the fourth one, if he is true to himself because he's such a good character, I'm talking about the character Indiana Jones, not Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones, the character himself, if it's a script and a story that's true to him and reflects the great things about that character, it's going to be, a 1 out of a 2 for me, for sure, at least. But if he has good characters to bounce off of, then there's more potential, because you have a whole cast in a film, not just one character, most films. But Indiana Jones, as an example, in the first movie, you had him versus Belloc. And there was this chemistry, there was a history there. Every scene with Belloc, you could see the intensity and his devotion to uncovering the Ark of the Covenant, because of all the powers and his Jewish religious faith, but also the supernatural things that can happen with it. And he was going to devote that to working with the Nazis. But Belloc was a good villain, and he bounced off of Indy. They had this history that you could see their hatred and their animosity, and yet respect for each other's ability and potential. At the same time, you had him with Marion, and Marion was a really great love interest, and she had a great dynamic, and she had a great chemistry with Indy, where they had this love-hate tolerance for each other as people, not just as a relationship and in a romantic capacity. But there was a lot of depth there, where they went from where she was, kicked him out of his bar in the beginning, to them being involved at the end. After this adventure that you were watching, him save her and her drive him and help him out of predicaments, and her getting into trouble and him helping her, but there was this chemistry that was there. That was the way it was with that's the way it was with all the Indiana Jones movies, him and his father, or him with even Short Round or Lily in the second movie. There was these relationships that were developed, and you understood the drive and the angles of all the characters involved. It's not just one person. This movie, Lara Croft was a solid character, really well done. And she had a lot of growth, a really great story arc in this movie, or character arc in the movie, but she didn't bounce off of anyone. There was no real, there was this backstory with her father. There was her relationship with the sailor that she hires to take her to the island while they're researching. The sailor's father had also had his father disappear. So he's on the same mission she is, to go uncover the mystery of what happened. He's all right, but it wasn't there wasn't this great connection, or there wasn't a lot of depth to his character, not enough to carry it. And the villain, it was just your standard terrorist. He had a history with Laura's dad, but it wasn't really presented where you cared. You weren't invested in his character because there was no growth. It was a flat character. There was no depth to him. There was no interest. There was no intrigue. There was nothing original really about him. He was just your standard terrorist in a white suit in the jungle trying to uncover this tomb. That's it. So anyway, just because of that, because she's the only one that was amazing in it, it's just a 1 out of 2. But she was fantastic. Don't think I'm ripping on the character and saying it was horrible. A 1 means it was a very competent, average, solid success to me. 2 out of 2 means it was fantastic and almost perfect. 0 means it was a huge failure. This movie was a really good, solid 1 because she was fantastic, but she was the only thing that was really fantastic. That takes care of the story and the character. The music, oh my gosh. The music was so good. I really loved how well edited and how well the score flowed with the plot and with the sequences, whatever was happening with the mood, whatever it was. If there was a tension, if there was a battle, if it was if it was them traveling or her thinking or figuring things out or just walking in the streets, whatever it was, the music, just like a score is supposed to, the music really carried the story without you realizing it was there. I was listening for it because I do these reviews, but a score you're not supposed to notice. It's not supposed to be this big thing that you're paying attention to. It's supposed to be something that just affects the mood and the feel and the tone of the film. But that's it. You can go back and listen for it. You can have themes, character themes, or concept themes, or movie themes. But those are there. But the music and a score of a film is supposed to just kind of help you to feel what the creators are trying to get you to feel. My favorite sequence actually was in the beginning. I'm not going to give anything really away, but she's trying to earn some money because she's just trying to fend for herself. She's not wanting to take over her father's fortune. And she is challenged, or she takes on this challenge where it's going to be what they call the fox hunt. And the fox hunt is where they have one person with a bucket of paint on the back of their box, or on the back of a bike, take off on the bike, and then a bunch of other cyclists, talking about or bicycles, are going to go after her in the streets. If they catch up to her before the paint can runs out of paint, then they win. Whoever gets there's a little foxtail on the back of her bike. That's what the challenge is. They're trying to get the tail, and she's trying to outrun them long enough to get a bunch of money. So in this sequence, though, it's a sequence that goes out all over the streets. She's darting in and out of pedestrian traffic and then in and out of cars, not into cars and out of cars, but you know what I mean, in and out of traffic of cars, the streets. And, darting behind poles and around benches, around corners and everything really fast. And the music, if you go watch the movie, if you haven't already seen it, go and specifically pay attention to the music and the edits in this scene. The music is playing some song, and it's just the twists and turns when she does like a sharp turn or someone crashes or whatever, the music goes really well with what's happening. The intensity builds up and slows down with whatever she's doing. And at a moment, she actually goes into slow motion for one of the parts of the bike or the chase, and the music flows really carefully along with her. And then there's some more impact that comes up. And she constantly is just doing some really crazy, dangerous stunts on the bike. And the music for that whole sequence just is so chopped. The composer whoever it was, I don't know who it was, just followed the scene so well that just that scene alone, I would have given it a 1 just for that. But the rest of the movie was like that. That set the standard for how this film took the music, and it just wove into everything that happened on the screen. And it was really, really beautiful. Just like that trailer we just watched. The trailer had the same thing where the moments and the shots went along with the music. Same thing, only the whole movie was like that. I loved it. And it's not like it was like this powerful theme that I could hum back to you or anything, but it was just really contributing to the feel that was exciting. This movie is a fun adventure, and the music totally built that that feel of the adventure and just helped drive it. And it was fantastic. So definite solid 2 out of 2. Cinematography. The cinematography in this movie was also a solid 2. It was one of my favorite things about it. Every shot, every time something happened, I was just looking at it thinking, this is just gorgeous. It's on this beautiful island, but it's not all there. Some of it's in London. Some action, or some scenes, not just action, is at nighttime. There's a big storm on the, or a lot of sequences, action sequence on the boat that you watch in the trailer. All the scenes at nighttime, the shots are filmed in a way with the lighting so carefully done that you can see all the right things on her face, so you can see where, like, her expressions and everything. You can follow along the action sequences in the nighttime. A lot of times when movies have action that's happening in the dark, because they're on an island, there's no lamps and flashlights and all this stuff all the time, and no campfire sequence or set. She's just on the island, and then there's an attack that happens, and there's some chase scenes and things in the dark. But it's done so well that you can see what's happening, and that's one of my favorite things about a dark sequence is when you can actually see it. I can't stand action scenes at night on a movie where you can't follow and see what's happening because they didn't do it right. This movie did it perfectly. Every sequence, the raining scene and the storm on the boat, there was a lot of scenes where she fell into water, and whenever she hit the water, the camera would go with her or go under the water, and it wasn't like this really weird GoPro camera that was sitting there just acting. This kind of took you out of it. It was really well done, the shots. Sequences where she's doing long jumps, or where she's like falling, long distances, or where she's rock climbing or whatever. There's a few scenes where she's kind of doing a parkour chase, and they're just shot so well, very well cut too. And editing can be thrown into the cinematography. That you can follow what's happening, but it wasn't just a bunch of long takes that were boring, but it wasn't too short that you were like getting confused, like Transformer movies. It was just gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And a lot of the scenes and a lot of the shots, I was just so impressed. I just wanted to take some shots and like put it on my wall, just have a poster of that. A lot of cool aerial shots. There's scenes where they're approaching the island or leaving London or whatever on a boat, sometimes in day, sometimes at night. And the shots, there's a lot of great aerial long shots that are establishing the scene, and is beautifully done. There's some scenes where they're following a helicopter, and the helicopter you're like in another helicopter watching, or there's another one that you're on a elevated spot watching the helicopter in a valley on the island. It's just beautiful. I really appreciate when movies help you understand what's happening on the screen, everything in the frame, the lighting, the proportions, the angles, and everything fit. That's what cinematography is, and that's what directing is. They fit and they're in place, but they are not confusing you or making it frustrating. And I'll just say the other aspect of that opening, it's not the opening scene, but the chase scene towards the beginning, where Lara Croft is cruising along very quickly. The edits, when you watch that chasing on the bike and the fox hunt, if you haven't seen it, go watch it for these two things. But the music, how it flows in and out of the scene, with the cuts and what she's doing, but also the angles of the camera. Some of them are like kind of first person. Some of them are on another bike. Some of them are gorgeous dolly shots. So she's going at high speed on her bike in this busy streets, and she's just starting all over the place, where you can follow exactly what's happening and the different directions of the pedestrians or cars or the other bikes or whatever. Everything's happening so fast, and there's some crashes and everything. But the angles from the camera are in just such unique and places for what the sequence usually is. A lot of times in a chase scene like this, you're either just watching from a far view while they're going down the street, or you'll be like at a corner where someone will approach, the camera will watch them approach from one angle and then turn the corner and go down the other angle of the street. And that's kind of, boring if that's all the sequence is. But this one is all over the place, and you can tell it took a long time to shoot this scene. And all it was establishing the action. And that this was going to be a fun, exciting, upbeat, fast movie. And it felt that way. And it was good. Not too quick. It didn't end, too fast, but it was just really well paced, and everything tied together to really tell the story that kept you excited and entertained. It was funny. I laughed out loud multiple times. I usually don't do that. But yeah, several times I thought there were moments that were pretty funny. And the last thing we'll talk about are the special effects. The special effects, I kind of I want to give it a 1 out of 2. It's not like I was overly blown away with everything, but the thing is, again, this is a comic book movie. As a comic book movie, the special effects are supposed to go along with what's happening in the scene, just like any movie. But as the special effects in a comic book movie usually are going to be a little more ridiculous, sometimes extreme, sometimes a little goofy or cartoony. This one really wasn't that way. This one really kind of the special effects were budgeted well. There were some that were cheaper than others. Some images or some scenes, some sets were obviously not sets, but they were done they were done well enough that it didn't that was convincing. We'll say most of this was filmed on location. You could tell there were filmed a lot of sequences in London. There's a lot of things that happen on the island or on the beach. And when they were in the cavern, there were certain rooms. Obviously, those were sets, but like as the traps were going off and as the explosions and things were happening, a lot of that was real. A lot of it felt real. The helicopter angle, it wasn't a CGI helicopter. That they took the time to budget to do that. If it was a CGI helicopter, and I'm sometimes not very good at telling the difference, I was fooled. I couldn't tell. Some of you may watch it and be like, yeah, obviously it's real, Tim. Or some of you may watch it and be like, yeah, Tim, obviously that's fake. And I don't care. Then enjoy the movie and don't take yourself out of it by trying to criticize me or criticize the special effects too much. I just enjoyed it. But yeah, the special effects were really good. The story was a video game. The movie was a video game. It was about a character in ridiculous situations, going on this adventure and problem solving and getting out of it with things that were a little too coincidental for a normal movie. But this is freaking Tomb Raider. It's Tomb Raider. And so Tomb Raider, you're going to have a video game set and you could follow it like it's a video game. And it's beautifully shot, beautifully edited, beautifully musicked, like a great video game. I could tell you the plot in the video game sequences right now. If you've already seen it, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But you have an opening sequence, or not the opening sequence, but when she finally gets into it, she has a little kickboxing match, and then she gets into the chase scene with the fox hunt. That's your training level where you're learning how the character moves. If you were playing the video game of the movie, that's where you're learning the controls. Okay. Then you have a parkour chase sequence with some purse snatchers. And when she's chasing the purse snatchers to get her bag back, you're seeing kind of some of her abilities and her seriousness, her intensity, and how dedicated that she is and how passionate she is about this quest. That's why she needs to get her purse back, because it has the things she needs to go on this adventure. And it's shot really, really well, like I said, but that's the second sequence. You have the bike sequence to have a vehicle level, and then you have this, which is going to teach you how to make your moves and your jump. Then you have the ship crashing, which is where you do some very basic maneuvers. You have, for people that play video games, there's your sequences where you're avoiding explosions in a small enclosed area. You're trying to problem solve. You have to get a couple things, get to a place to jump off. You're trying to go this direction, but it blows up. So now you're derailed and going another direction, and the little obstacles keep happening to get out of the level. And then she even has a few moments where she's doing wall hangs and rock climbs and things like that. That's the second level, is getting off the ship, and it ends in this big CGI sequence where she lands in the water and then gets knocked out. Okay, there's the second action sequence. Now she's a prisoner, and as a prisoner, the next level is her escaping the prison. And there's a little mini kind of a boss fight, but not really. She escapes a prisoner, and then the next sequence is at night. She's in a boss fight. She gets into a mini boss fight, and then she finishes that level. Then there's a huge cut scene, and after the cut scene, she's approaching the tomb, and after this longer cutscene, where it's kind of progressing the plot forward, now she's going back to fight the bad guys to get to the tomb, and then there's a action sequence for the next level, and then she has a mini boss level at the door of the tomb, and then she gets into the tomb. Now you have a few more puzzles for those levels, and then you get to the last room, and in the last room you have the main boss fight. Well, you could say you have first form of the boss fight the boss, and then there's another chase scene, and then the final boss fight, the end, and then you have the final escape, and then your little CGI ending, and then you have your little cliffhanger where she picks up the guns in the credit scene. That's it. So like a few training levels and a few sequences, a few cut scenes, and then a couple puzzles, and then bam, she's in the boss fight, end of game. That's what the movie was. Fantastic story. Well, a fantastic story, but it's really well done, really well progressed, and all the factors and attributes and pieces of the movie come together to give it, if you did your math, a solid 9. I loved it. I really loved it. I'm excited to see it again so I can enjoy some of the plot. I'm really horrible with plot. I want to see the background. It does set up, future stories with more adventures with this character. I'm excited about it. But I just have a hard time with villains. I have a hard time keeping track of who they are, what countries they're from, anything like that, which terrorist groups they're with. Other than this is the Trinity, they mentioned that in the movie. But basically, for me, if they aren't Nazis or stormtroopers, I don't pay attention to where they're from because I have a hard time following it anyway. I'm bad with plot. I'm bad with characters, so whatever. But I enjoy movies, and I love the movie. It's really well done. Go watch it, enjoy it. Definitely, in our reviews, we give it a final judgment. Celestial, meaning you should see in the theater. Terrestrial, meaning that you can wait till it's on Redbox, but definitely go see it as soon as you can. And Telestial means you can wait around till it's on Netflix or something. Definitely see this one in the theater. I think it's cinematic beauty. I think it's worth seeing, to pay the few dollars to get into the theater, to watch on the big screen with a good sound system and enjoy how everything collages together to make this beautiful adventure story for Lara Croft. Well done, and it's got a perfect 9 out of 10 for me. So anyway, that's my review. Tell me what you think. If you watched the movie already, tell me if you agree or disagree. If you haven't seen it, go watch the bike sequence and just watch the music and the editing, the cuts, and with the camera angles and how really well done and tricky they were. And then just enjoy the rest of the movie. Just sit back and enjoy the show. It's a fantastic film. But anyway, that's my review of Tomb Raider 2018. And I hope you go see it and enjoy it and let me know what you think. But thanks for watching Saints on Cinema. I'm Tim Wilde, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, guys.